Most men believe that disappearing means losing, that walking away means giving up, that silence is a form of surrender. But the truth is that true power isn't demonstrated. It retreats. When you learn to detach yourself, when you choose to calmly disappear instead of reacting angrily, you're not losing influence. You're multiplying it, because detachment is an absence. It's amplified presence. It's the calm that speaks louder than noise. It's the distance that echoes in the minds of others. The modern world teaches you otherwise. It tells you that you must be constant, present, available, that you must prove how much you care. But the psychology of detachment reveals a deeper law. The more you chase, the less you're worth. The more you disappear, the more you matter. It's not a game, it's biology. It's power dynamics. It's the primitive instinct that guides human attention. What's always available loses value. What retreats is desired. It's not manipulation, it's energy. When you walk away with respect and silence, you send an unconscious message. I don't need to be chosen to know who I am. And that unspoken sentence is what makes you irresistible. Because human beings are attracted to what they don't understand. And nothing is more mysterious than a calm man who disappears without anger, without drama, without revenge. A man who doesn't shout, who doesn't seek explanations, who doesn't send a final message, but simply withdraws with dignity. It lights a flame in the other's mind that isn't easily extinguished. Because detachment is a mirror. It reflects the immaturity of those who don't know how to remain silent. It reveals the emptiness of those who constantly need validation. And above all, it shows the difference between the complete and the dependent. When you disappear, you are not punishing anyone. You're proclaiming freedom. You're saying, I don't have to be seen to exist. And that's when your energy shifts frequency. You become untouchable. You become impenetrable. You become magnetic. Every time you disappear, the world around you rearranges itself. People who took you for granted begin to wonder where you are. Those who underestimated you begin to reassess your importance. And those who thought they understood you realize they never truly knew you. This is the power of detachment. It's invisible, yet unstoppable. It's silent, yet deafening. Disappearing doesn't mean burning bridges in anger. It means withdrawing your energy from what doesn't respect it. It means stopping nourishing what drains you. It means choosing peace over struggle. When you learn to disappear gracefully, you don't need to close doors. Doors close on their own, because the universe doesn't like emptiness. When you let go of something that doesn't honor you, life fills that space with something that reflects you. It's a law, and it always works. Disappearing isn't cowardice. It's emotional intelligence. Only those in control can choose to withdraw. Those who react are still slaves. Those who withdraw are already free. True strength isn't staying when you're not respected. It's leaving when you could stay. Every time you walk away from a toxic situation, every time you stop explaining yourself to someone who won't listen, every time you choose silence over drama, you're telling yourself, I'm enough. And that energy, that emotional self-sufficiency, is the highest form of attraction. The psychology of detachment isn't based on power over others, but on power over yourself. It's the art of not letting your impulses rule you, of not chasing for fear of losing, of not staying where you're disrespected. The world will notice you when you stop trying to be noticed, because calm is rare, and rarity is desire. When you learn to disappear at the right moment, you don't create absence, you create curiosity. And curiosity is the first step toward respect. And respect is the foundation of attraction. Remember, no one forgets those who disappeared with dignity, those who chose silence over explanation. He who retired without rancor, but with a calm smile that said, I no longer have to prove anything. Disappearing doesn't make you invisible, it makes you memorable. The world doesn't reward those who stay. It rewards those who know when to leave. Not those who insist, but those who elevate themselves. Not those who ask, but those who remain silent. We live in a society that glorifies constant presence, total availability, continuous connection. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to be there. But those who know how to disappear at the right time leave an indelible mark forever. It's an invisible law, yet as ancient as the human mind. What retreats acquires value. Scarcity generates desire, and detachment is the purest form of emotional scarcity. Because detachment can't be faked. It's an energetic frequency. Either you have it or you lose it. When you retreat, you don't communicate, "I'm not interested." You communicate, "It doesn't define me." And that's precisely what confuses others. Because most people live with emotional dependencies. A need for attention, a need for validation, a need for approval. When they meet someone who doesn't have these needs, they become destabilized. They don't know how to handle you. They can't decipher you, and what they don't understand, they desire. Detachment is proof that you've stopped seeking energy outside yourself. It's the silent announcement that you've become a source. And sources, as we know, don't chase rivers. They attract them. Those who withdraw don't lose power. They concentrate it. Every time you distance yourself, you're shifting your energy from outside to inside. You're recharging your calm, rebuilding your presence, reclaiming your strength. And this strength, once recomposed, begins to emanate. You don't need to say anything. Your absence alone speaks. People start to think about it. They wonder where you are. They wonder why they don't see you anymore. Why you no longer react. Why you no longer pursue. That's when detachment becomes domination. Because detachment creates an asymmetry of energy. Those who withdraw don't seek. They are sought. Those who remain silent don't chase. They are remembered. Those who stop valuing those who ignore them automatically become more valuable. There's no need for anger, no need for pride, just awareness. The awareness that your time, your attention, your energy are sacred resources, and you no longer waste them fueling what doesn't deserve them. The invisible law of detachment is simple. The more you are willing to walk away, the more you are respected. Because freedom is the true currency of power. Those who aren't afraid of losing cannot be controlled. That's why people are attracted to those who don't chase, because detachment communicates stability, and stability is magnetic. Every woman, consciously or unconsciously, feels this energy. You can say all you want, but if you feel a deep need, she will sense it. If, on the other hand, you are calm, present, and ready to walk away at any moment without resentment, then you become irresistible. Detachment is the highest form of inner security. Not the kind built on ego, but the kind born of self-respect. You don't distance yourself to be chased. You distance yourself so you don't have to chase yourself. You distance yourself because you know that staying where you're not appreciated is a form of self-betrayal. Those who don't understand your value now will understand it in the silence of your absence. And that day, your words will no longer be needed, because distance will speak for you. Every time you disappear, your image in the other's mind changes, from accessible to mysterious, from predictable to indecipherable, from a man in need to a man who chooses, and he who chooses dominates. Detachment is like the setting sun. You don't have to stop it, just watch it calmly go away, because even when it disappears, its light remains in the air, and those who have eyes to see feel its absence. Disappearing at the right time is an art. You don't have to do it to punish, but to regain space. Not to hurt, but to heal. The true elegance of detachment is this: leave no rubble, only silence. A silence that weighs, that makes you reflect, that forces the other to look within. When you learn to detach without resentment, you enter a higher dimension. You no longer react to other people's behavior. You observe them as if they were scenes from a movie. You know you can't change the script of others, only your own. And in your script, you've decided that peace is more valuable than attention. This is mastery. This is sovereignty. Detachment teaches you that you don't need anyone to understand you. You need to understand yourself. That you don't have to convince anyone. You have to convince yourself that you deserve more. And when you succeed, an incredible thing happens. People who had lost interest in you come back, not out of love, but out of curiosity. They want to understand how you stay so calm. They want to understand how you don't need, and in trying to understand you, they begin to respect you. This is the paradox of detachment. The more you distance yourself, the more they seek you out. The more you remain silent, the more they want to listen to you. The more you forget about them, the more they obsess over you. But that's not why you do it. You do it for yourself, because emotional freedom is your new standard. Detachment isn't an act of coldness, it's an act of faith. Faith in life, faith in time. Faith that what is authentic remains and what isn't dissolves. Every time you choose to retreat rather than react, every time you choose to disappear rather than argue, you're telling the world, I don't bow to chaos, I am my own balance. And balance, in a world of reactions, is a form of divine rarity. Because the truth is this: those who know how to walk away at the right time never lose. Those who retreat calmly always win. And those who remain peacefully silent master every game, without ever needing to play it. Every woman, even the most self-confident, has a weakness she will never admit: curiosity about what she can't control. It's written into her biology, her selection instinct, her mind hypersensitive to uncertainty, because what she can't read fascinates her, and what she can't foresee obsesses her. That's why detachment works, because it creates emptiness, and the female mind hates emptiness. It can't tolerate it. It must fill it. It must understand it. It must explain it. When you disappear, you're not taking away your presence. You're taking away her certainty. And certainty is the basis of all control. Without it, she enters new territory. Curiosity, mystery, doubt. Detachment is a silent invitation to think about you, to ask, why isn't he there anymore? What happened? Why doesn't he look anymore? What if he doesn't really care? Every question that arises from your silence is a seed of desire that grows in her mind. Because desire isn't born from presence, but from perceived absence. It's a psychological paradox. The more you seek someone, the more you saturate them. The more you withdraw, the more you make them alive in the other's mind. It's not a strategy, it's a mechanism. When you disappear, you force the other to return within themselves, to fill the gaps with their imagination. And imagination, when stimulated, is more powerful than any word. Every woman builds an image of you in her mind. As long as you're present, she can correct it. She can reduce you, explain you, control you. But when you disappear, that image stops receiving updates. It remains suspended, and the brain, by nature, hates information gaps. Then it begins to idealize you, to fill the space with the best of you, with memories, with hypotheses, with nostalgia. It rebuilds you into the brightest version possible, not because you've changed, but because you've been missing. Absence is the soil on which desire grows. Detachment is the water that nourishes it. Every woman who has lost a calm man, who didn't react, who didn't beg, who didn't seek explanations, has remembered him longer than anyone else. Not out of love, but out of mystery. Because mystery is the purest form of attraction. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to act. Just don't explain yourself too much. Modern man talks too much. He justifies himself, opens up, and exposes himself excessively. But charm comes from the shadows, not from total light. What is completely visible no longer attracts. It's not the smile that wins you over. It's the silence that accompanies it. It's not the message. It's the pause before sending it. It's not the confession, it's the sentence left unsaid. Every space left open is a door into the other's mind. A door that, inevitably, she will want to open. This is the power of detachment. Not closing, but suspending. Leaving something pending that the mind doesn't know how to resolve. And the mind, when it can't resolve, keeps coming back. It keeps thinking about it, brooding, searching for meaning. And while it does, you are there. Not in his phone, not in his eyes, but in his mind. And there's no easy escape. Male mystery isn't a mask. It's a choice. It's the art of not showing everything, of not saying everything, of not rushing to fill every silence. When you learn to do this, you don't become distant. You become profound, because depth is a silence that doesn't need to be explained. Every woman recognizes a profound man as soon as she meets him. She doesn't know why, but she feels it. She senses that behind the calm there is density, behind the silence, vision, behind the absence, power. And the more she tries to understand where that strength comes from, the more she will be drawn to it. You never have to explain your calm. You never have to justify your distance, because those who are truly at peace don't need to be understood. Male mystery is born from self-sufficiency, from that feeling that even if she disappeared tomorrow, you wouldn't crumble, that you would continue to live with dignity, with presence, with power. And that feeling for a woman is irresistible, not because she doesn't want to be loved, but because she wants to be drawn by someone greater than her emotions. The man who withdraws at the right time doesn't run away. He educates. He teaches others how to treat him. He shows limits without words. He sets the pace of the relationship without ever imposing it. The woman who meets a man like this may even try to challenge him, but she will never forget him, because mystery leaves deeper imprints than noise. When you learn to use detachment, not as a weapon, but as a language, you are no longer a man who reacts. You are a man who directs. And the world loves those who know how to direct their energy. Mystery is a balance between revelation and silence, between presence and absence, between saying and withholding. It is the invisible dance between what you reveal and what you hint at. You don't need to disappear forever. Sometimes it's enough to disappear for a day, for an hour, for an answer that arrives calmly, for a look that doesn't ask. Detachment is the frame of your value. Without a frame, even the most beautiful painting loses importance. With the right frame, it becomes art. Don't fear being misunderstood. Those who need to understand you will understand you in silence. Those who don't were never connected to your frequency. Detachment doesn't repel, it refines. It separates those who are ready from those who aren't. Those who are superficial from those who are profound. Those who see you as an option are those who recognize you as a presence. Male mystery is not a trick. It is the form in which your energy becomes legend. It is what remains when you no longer say anything, but everyone still hears you. Because disappearing doesn't mean truly disappearing. It means becoming an echo that repeats itself in the mind of another, every time silence falls, every time the emptiness makes itself felt, every time she asks herself, "Why isn't she like the others?" And the answer, ultimately, is simple. Because you have become the mystery that cannot be resolved, but is remembered. Emptiness frightens those who cannot be with themselves. But for those who understand it, it becomes pure power. Emptiness is not lack, it is space. And space is what allows life to breathe. When you distance yourself, when you stop chasing, when you withdraw your energy from those who don't deserve it, you are creating emptiness. And that emptiness is not a loss. It is a magnetic field. People feel your absence like an echo, as if the air around them were changing density, as if your absence had weight. Because every energy that withdraws leaves behind a vibration, a silence that speaks, an absence that fills more than 1,000 forced presences. Emptiness is an invisible force, but it dominates every human relationship. The mind cannot tolerate emptiness. It must fill it. It must find meaning. It must understand. When you disappear, when you stop writing, when you don't explain yourself, when you don't justify, the other begins to search for the meaning of your absence. And in doing so, they fill that void with you. The greater your silence, the greater your presence becomes in their mind. This is the paradox of the energy of emptiness. When you're not there, you're everywhere. Absence multiplies your presence because it forces the other to journey within themselves. And that journey, inevitably, brings them back to you. When you were present, you were real. When you disappeared, You became a concept, an idea, a question, and nothing attracts more than an unanswered question. This is what the sages, the Stoics, and the inner masters have always understood. Power is exercised not by shouting, but by subtracting, not in fullness, but in emptiness. The man who knows how to create emptiness around himself becomes like the sky, immutable, silent, profound. Everyone looks toward him, even when he seems distant. Most people fill every space. They fill it with words, messages, explanations, apologies. But the man who has understood the psychology of detachment doesn't fill it. He leaves space. Space is power, because in silence, others reveal themselves. In the void, the truth reveals itself. And those who have the courage not to intervene see everything more clearly. When you learn to use the void, you no longer have to ask for anything. The world responds on its own. The people who seek you out in silence show who you are to them. Those who disappear with you show who they really were. Every time you create a void, you are filtering. You are separating what is authentic from what was merely habit. The void is selective. It allows only what is rooted to remain. This is why the man who calmly disappears becomes magnetic. Not because he is playing, but because he demonstrates control. The energy of the void is control. Control over oneself, over one's emotions, over one's attention. When you don't react, when you don't chase anything, when you retreat into silence, you are saying to the world, I don't need movement to feel alive. And that stability is irresistible. In today's world, where everyone shouts to be noticed, silence is a luxury. Detachment is rare. Calm is power. The energy of emptiness is felt in everything. In the way you enter a room and don't try to dominate, but everything calms around you. In the way you speak less and say more. In the way you don't chase those who distance themselves, but let the distance speak for you. Emptiness isn't cold. It's retained heat. It's the embers beneath the ashes. You don't see them, but it's what warms you the most. Every time you distance yourself, you're not shutting yourself away. You're letting things mature. People need your silence to understand your value. They need to feel your absence to recognize your presence. They need to touch the void to understand how full you were. Detachment is the soil where respect grows, because those who don't respect you in your presence will respect you in your silence. The energy of emptiness only works if it's authentic. You can't pretend you're not in need. You must truly be at peace with your solitude. You must reach the point where your own company is enough. When you're truly comfortable with yourself, you no longer seek, you no longer chase. And just then, the world begins to chase you, because the emptiness you create isn't abandonment. It's a magnet. Those who feel that calm want to get closer. Those who feel that strength want to understand it. Those who feel that freedom want to share it. But few can remain in that emptiness with you. Only those who have worked on themselves can do so. The rest will flee. And that's okay, because the emptiness separates the strong from the fragile, the authentic from the needy, the present from the superficial. You, however, remain in your space, in your calm, in your presence. And the longer you remain, the more solid you become. You don't need to fill the void. You become the emptiness, the calm, stable, and immobile energy that attracts everything without moving. Like a mountain, like an ocean, like a man no longer afraid of himself. The emptiness is your ally. It's your invisible frame. It's the place where your value amplifies without saying a word. When you learn to use it, you no longer have to try to make yourself understood, because those who can remain in your silence have already understood everything. There's a precise moment after you disappear when something changes. She won't tell you, she won't show it to you, but a short circuit occurs inside her. Her mind, which was previously calm, suddenly begins to seek you out, not out of affection, not out of nostalgia, but out of imbalance. You have interrupted the dynamic. You have broken the predictable rhythm of the game, and human beings, when they lose a rhythm, seek to restore it. That's why silence reawakens interest, because the mind hates emptiness, but the heart transforms it into absence. At first, when you detach yourself, she interprets your calm as disinterest. She thinks she's won. She thinks you've given up. But then time passes and your silence doesn't change. You don't collapse, you don't write, you don't return. You remain absent, but stable. And there, her confidence begins to crack, because there's nothing more destabilizing than a man who doesn't react as expected. Respect is born exactly there, when the other realizes they can no longer control your response, that your balance is non-negotiable. Every woman, consciously or unconsciously, tests a man's emotional stability, not out of malice, but out of instinct. She wants to feel she can trust him, that the world won't fall apart next to you, that if she distances herself, you won't explode. You remain whole. And when she sees this, something inside her changes. Respect is born, and with respect, desire returns. Because desire isn't born from presence, it's born from perceived distance. The more independent you are, the more magnetic you become. It's not a theory, it's psychology. The human brain is wired to desire what it doesn't fully possess. When something is completely available, attention wanes. When something slips away, attention intensifies. This is how it works with masculine energy too. As long as you're predictable, you're unattractive. But when you stop responding immediately, when you disappear for a while, when you allow time to fill your absence, you suddenly become interesting. Because the brain starts asking itself, what is he thinking? Why doesn't he write? Has he really moved on? Have I lost him forever? Every question that arises in her is a form of attention. Every doubt is a seed of desire. Silence works because it communicates what words cannot: self-control. And self-control is the highest form of male strength. A man who doesn't give in to his impulses automatically becomes respected, because it shows that his mind commands his heart, not the other way around. Respect and desire are siblings. One is born of strength, the other of calm. And silence brings them both together. When you disappear without anger, leaving only a clean energy behind you, you are not punishing. You are rebalancing. You are reestablishing your value. You are showing that your attention is not infinite. Silence doesn't say, I don't care. It says, I care about myself. And this sentence, even if you don't say it, comes across as clear as a flash of light. Every person who underestimated you begins to see you with different eyes, because respect is always born after loss. Only when something is gone do you understand how much it mattered. Your silence is your most powerful lesson. There's no need to shout, there's no need to explain, there's no need to argue. Just disappear elegantly, calmly, with intention. A man who knows how to withdraw without resentment is scary because he's unpredictable, and the unpredictable is irresistible. But be careful. Silence only works if it's authentic. You can't use it as a tactic. It must be a reflection of your peace. You have to get to the point where silence isn't a strategy, but a natural state. If you're in turmoil inside, she'll feel it. If you're calm inside, she'll feel it even more. Energy doesn't lie. Silence doesn't lie. When you stop speaking with your mouth, you begin to speak with your presence, and that presence is stronger than any message. There's no need to explain your value. Just withdraw it. There's no need to demand respect. Just demand it calmly, through silence. Every man who has learned this lesson has seen the transformation unfold before his eyes. The people who ignored him begin to contact him again. Those who took him for granted want to know how he is. Those who left him begin to doubt their choices, because silence undermines the other's narrative. It forces them to rewrite their story. And the more they seek explanations, the more you become the answer. Respect and desire are not asked for. They are inspired. And the most powerful way to inspire them is to show that you can be happy without anyone. There is nothing more attractive than a man who, after being hurt, doesn't seek revenge. He seeks peace. Because peace is what everyone seeks, but few manage to maintain. You, on the other hand, embody it. You wear it like a second skin. And the more you embody it, the more the world recognizes it in you. You don't have to shout to be remembered. You don't have to compete to be chosen. You just need to stay calm, present, centered. Because in the end, in a world of noise, he who knows how to keep quiet always wins. Silence not only awakens respect, it anchors it. It transforms it into admiration. And when admiration merges with desire, you have reached the highest level of attraction. The one where you no longer have to do anything because your calm speaks for you. And it, sooner or later, will return. Not to possess you, but to understand how you manage to need nothing and yet seem so complete. The calm after separation is not silence. It is total presence. It is the absence of need. It is the return to the center where nothing touches you and everything slides off you like rain on stone. There is no revenge more elegant than the serenity of someone who has remained whole after being shaken. There is no need to show that you are fine. You transmit it. It is an energy that cannot be faked. When someone sees you after losing you and realizes that you are not destroyed, but calmer, more lucid, more composed, their mind stops. Because that kind of strength cannot be explained, it is felt. Calm is your most underrated weapon. In a world that reacts to every stimulus, you become the exception. And the exception, by nature, fascinates. True mastery isn't changing someone's mind. It's not needing it. It's living so centered in your peace that every attack loses its effectiveness. When you learn to remain calm after detachment, you're no longer at war with the other. You're at peace with yourself, and that peace can be seen, felt, and sensed. Calm is magnetic. It's living proof that you've learned to manage your energy. Every man who manages to maintain balance after being hurt not only inspires respect, but also teaches a lesson. Because calm is the language of the strong. It's the response of masters. It's the key that separates those who react from those who command. Calm doesn't mean indifference. It means mastery. It means you can look into the eyes of those who have disappointed you and feel only compassion. No more anger, no more resentment, only clarity. In that moment, you become a mirror for the other. A mirror that reflects everything he or she is not yet able to handle. Your balance brings out their instability. Your silence brings out their chaos. Your calm becomes their lesson. This is why, often, after you break up, someone who has hurt you starts seeking you out. Not because their feelings have changed, but because they've begun to sense the difference between your energy and that of the rest of the world. You've stopped reacting, you've stopped running, you've stopped proving, and suddenly, everything about you has become more attractive. Calm after a breakup is like an invisible magnet. You can't see it, but it pulls. It doesn't speak, but it communicates. It doesn't seduce, but it affirms. Those who underestimated you begin to wonder how you managed to remain so whole, how you didn't implode, how you managed to move forward without collapsing. But the truth is simple. You've learned not to seek validation anymore. You've found yours. Calm is the confirmation that you no longer need answers, that you no longer need to close circles with words, because you've already closed them inside yourself. There's no need to seek revenge. There's no need to prove your worth. Your calm speaks for you. Every calm gesture, every thoughtful silence, every steady, neutral gaze says one thing. You haven't destroyed me. You've just made me more centered. And when you reach this point, something extraordinary happens. The people who once touched you emotionally no longer have power over you. They can talk, they can provoke, they can try to reopen wounds. But your calm is a glass wall. You see everything, but nothing passes through you. You've learned to observe without reacting, to feel without being dragged along, to understand without losing your balance. Calm is your invisible force field. Anyone who encounters you senses it immediately. It's not something you do, it's something you are. You move differently. You breathe differently. You respond differently. And every word you say carries weight, because it comes from an internal place that isn't agitated, but still. The modern world fears calm people, Because calm disarms. Those who thrive on chaos don't know how to manage it. Those who manipulate lose power in the face of those who don't react. Those who feed on other people's emotions starve to death when faced with those who no longer give them. This is what's scary about calm. It takes away the ground from those who thrive on control. Your calm after the breakup is their greatest defeat because it shows they never truly had power, only access, and you, with a single choice, took it away from them. There's no need to raise your voice, no need to explain, no need to end the conversation. Your silence is closure. Your calm is their signature, and that signature remains imprinted in their minds more than any message. Calm is like a lens. It magnifies everything that is true. Those who look at you from the outside think you're standing still, but inside you, a new world is moving. A world in which you no longer have to defend yourself, because no one can hurt you anymore. You've learned that true strength isn't reacting quickly, but not reacting at all. Not because you don't feel, but because you've chosen not to let what you feel decide for you. Calm is the final stage of male evolution. When you get there, you no longer seek strong emotions. You seek peace. You don't seek validation, you seek consistency. You don't seek to be understood, you seek to be aligned. And when you live like this, you become rare, and what is rare becomes precious. The calm after detachment is not a phase, it's a new way of living. It's the beginning of a life in which you no longer chase what consumes you, but attract what completes you. Because calm is vibration, and similar vibrations are recognized. When you stop seeking peace in others, you begin to attract those who live on the same frequency as you, and from that moment, you no longer need to defend anything, because life, finally, begins to defend you. Many confuse detachment with coldness, but detachment isn't about closing yourself off. It's about choosing yourself. It's not about a lack of love. It's about love in its purest form, the kind that isn't lost to the other, but is found within yourself. Being detached doesn't mean not feeling emotions. It means not being a slave to them. It means you can love, you can desire, you can become attached, but none of this possesses you. Detachment is emotional freedom, and freedom is never cold. It's warm, full, dense. It's what remains when you remove all that is need, all that is dependence, all that is fear of loss. The man who loves with detachment doesn't love less. He loves better. Because he doesn't ask. He doesn't demand. He doesn't measure the value of his love based on the response. He loves because it's his nature, not because he wants something in return. Emotional detachment isn't born of cynicism. It's born of awareness. It's born of knowing that every time you lose yourself to someone, you're betraying yourself, and no love is worth your loss. Those who are detached are not insensitive. They are immune, not to emotions, but to chaos. They have learned to live in the sea without drowning. They don't run away from feelings, but from drama. They don't avoid love, but dependence. They don't close their heart, they protect it. Because a protected heart is not a dead heart. It's a heart that knows how to balance. Who knows how to give without losing themselves? Who knows how to give presence without selling themselves short? Emotional detachment is a form of superior intelligence. It's the understanding that every time you chase someone who eludes you, you're wasting your life energy. And every time you try to convince someone to love you, you're screaming to the world that you don't love yourself enough. Being detached means knowing that everything can end and still be at peace. That people can leave and you remain whole. That love can change, but your dignity cannot. This is the highest level of inner freedom, no longer being afraid of losing what you love, because you cannot lose who you are. Those who live in need transform every relationship into a prison. Those who live in detachment transform every relationship into freedom. Detachment is what separates mature love from infantile attachment. The child wants to possess. The man wants to share. The child is afraid of being alone. The man finds strength in solitude. The child demands attention. The man gives presence. Detachment is what makes you stop reacting and start observing. You sit, watch life unfold, And understand that everything you force breaks. Everything you let go, if it truly belongs to you, comes back. There's no need to control. You need to trust. Trust in life, in time, in yourself. Detachment is trust. Trust that everything that is meant to last doesn't need your fear to stay. And everything that must go won't be held back even by 1,000 words. When you live like this, the world changes color. There are no more losses. There are liberations. There are no more refusals. There are redirections. There are no more ends of stories. There are new chapters. Detachment frees you from the need to understand everything, because you learn that understanding doesn't heal. Acceptance does. You no longer need to know why someone walked away. It's enough to know that you stayed. You no longer need to know why they didn't choose you. It's enough to know that you have chosen your peace. Emotional detachment is the end of external dependence. It's the beginning of your internal autonomy. It's the point where you stop asking the world to give you meaning because you've learned to do it yourself. From then on, every relationship changes. You no longer seek someone to complete you, but to share the completeness you already have. You no longer enter into a relationship out of need, but for pleasure. You no longer give love as an investment, but as an expression. And this energy, this way of being, is felt. Everyone who meets you senses it, because emotional detachment manifests itself in everything, in the way you walk, in the way you speak, in the way you react, or rather, in the way you don't react. A detached man doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't chase. He doesn't explain the same concept 1,000 times. He says it once, calmly. Then he falls silent. And silence, at that point, becomes law. People learn to respect you not because you impose rules, but because you radiate the calm of someone who no longer needs to be understood. And that calm is the most irresistible thing there is. Because in a world where everyone seeks attention, you are the only one who doesn't ask for it. In a world where everyone talks, you are the only one who keeps watch. In a world where everyone reacts, you observe. And in that observation, in that calm, in that complete distance, lies true strength. Emotional detachment is not a wall. It is a threshold that separates those who live by reactions from those who live by choices. You don't close doors. You leave open only those that open in both directions. That's the secret. To love freely, without chains, without expectations. To love knowing that nothing belongs to you. That every person who enters your life is a gift, not a possession. And when you live like this, love finally becomes pure. Without anxiety, without control, without fear. It is the highest form of love, the one that says, I love you enough to let you free, and adds silently, and I love myself enough to stay free too. This is true greatness, the calm that never fades, the dignity that cannot be negotiated, the heart that loves but doesn't kneel. Because loving as a detached man doesn't mean being less human. It means being more aware, more complete, more alive. And when you learn this, you no longer seek relationships to feel alive. You live them because you are already alive. Detachment doesn't separate you from the world. It brings you back to your center. And from there, everything changes perspective. You are no longer the one who begs for love. You are the one who radiates love. And those who receive your energy never forget it. Because it isn't made of words. It's made of peace. And peace, once touched, is never forgotten. Being emotionally inaccessible doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means feeling everything, but choosing what deserves your response. It's not coldness, it's emotional discipline. It's the ability to observe an internal wave and not let it overwhelm you. It's the art of not reacting to every impulse, of not opening your heart as if it were a public door. Being emotionally inaccessible is how you protect your energy, because energy, like attention, is a form of currency. And if you spend it on those who don't know how to receive it, you remain empty. An emotionally inaccessible man, in the Stoic sense of the word, is a man who has learned to contain, not to repress, but to channel. When you feel anger, you don't snap, When you feel longing, you don't run. When you feel needy, you don't write. You stop, you breathe, you observe. And in that observation, transformation occurs. Feeling loses its power to govern you, and you take the helm again. Being emotionally inaccessible doesn't mean closing yourself off to love, but opening yourself only to those who vibrate at your same frequency. It means ceasing to make everyone worthy of your inner world. It means guarding your depths like a temple, not like a marketplace. The modern world confuses expression with exposure. It tells you that you must always communicate, that you must show vulnerability, that you must be transparent. But total transparency is a trap, because those who see you completely can also manipulate you completely. The emotionally inaccessible man is not an enigma. He is a guardian. He guards his soul like a private garden. He lets in those who know how to walk in silence, not those who arrive running with mud under their shoes. Every time you open your world to those who lack the maturity to be there, a part of you is consumed. Every time you justify yourself, a part of you is emptied. Every time you share your pain with someone who doesn't understand it, a part of you weakens. Being emotionally inaccessible is a form of self-respect. It's saying, not everyone deserves to truly know me, not out of arrogance, but out of protection. It's not easy to get there, because to become selective, you must first know the pain of being misunderstood. You must experience the weariness of giving to someone who doesn't give back. You must hit rock bottom enough times to understand that your energy is sacred. After that experience, you don't become cold. You become calm, and calm frightens those who thrive on chaos. When you're emotionally inaccessible, you don't respond immediately. Not because you're playing games, but because you listen to your feelings before reacting. You ask yourself, is this situation worth my energy? Is this person worth my attention? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. So you don't write, you don't call, you don't explain. And silence does its job. Because silence isn't a lack of words. It's an abundance of control. Anyone living in need feels threatened by your balance. They will accuse you of being distant, cold, disinterested. But that is only the language of dependence. For those still tied to external approval, calm is incomprehensible. You are not distant, you are centered. And those accustomed to chaos mistake center for absence. Being emotionally inaccessible does not mean closing the doors of your heart. It means placing a guard at the threshold, a guard called discernment. You must not react to everything that touches you. You must not respond to everything that provokes you. You must not correct everything that misunderstands you. You must remain calm, knowing that those who truly deserve to know you will not force you to defend yourself. A man who knows how to contain his emotions does not lose power. He amplifies it. Because he who controls himself also controls the energy of others. When you are calm, others adjust to you. When you don't react, others begin to doubt their own strength. When you smile in silence, others become confused. There's no point in playing who writes first. There's no point in appearing disinterested. Authentic detachment isn't put on, it radiates. The emotionally inaccessible man doesn't compete. He doesn't justify himself. He doesn't beg for attention. And he never lets it show that he's looking for something, because everything he needs is already within him. And this certainty is the true definition of charisma. Being emotionally inaccessible is a form of profound charisma because it comes from abundance, not from lack. It's the calm that says, I won't chase you, but if you want to stay, sit down. It's the certainty that communicates, I don't need you to feel complete, but your presence, if authentic, is welcome. Those who live like this don't lose people. They select them naturally. Those who can't stay in your calm will disappear on their own. Those who recognize it, stay. Being emotionally inaccessible in the right way isn't about closing the door. It's about choosing who knocks, who must have the courage to remain silent. And do you know the most fascinating thing? The more you stop explaining yourself, the more others want to understand you. The more stable you are, the more others want to shake you. The more at peace you are, the more others want to share in your calm. But you don't move. You stay where you are, because your presence now is your message. You are not a wall. You are a lighthouse. And only those who truly navigate will know how to interpret your light. There are two types of men, those who speak to fill the silence, and those who use silence to command the stage. The first type is predictable. They fear the void. They must explain, justify themselves, clarify, convince. Every word they say is an attempt not to disappear. The second type is rare. When they speak, their words carry weight. And when they remain silent, people listen even more. Because silence, when it comes from a man with self-control, becomes magnetic. It is an invisible magnet that attracts respect and curiosity. Most people confuse silence with weakness. They believe that silence means having nothing to say. But in reality, the silence of a calm man is a declaration. I don't need to convince you. I've already decided who I am. The true power of silence is that it cannot be interpreted. It is pure ambiguity, and ambiguity generates interest. Those who don't understand your silence will begin to study it. Those who can't read you will begin to think about you. And in that thought, attraction begins. Because attraction doesn't come from information. It comes from mystery. And there is no greater mystery than a man who can remain silent when everyone is talking. Self-control is the highest form of charisma. It's not something you show, it's something you emanate. Every time you choose not to react, you're sending a signal. I'm not accessible at first impulse. I am a mountain, not a leaf. And the mountain doesn't have to shout to be noticed. It just needs to remain still. Silence becomes attraction because it conveys mastery. He who knows how to remain silent knows how to dominate. He who doesn't react immediately controls time. Anyone who lets another's words fall without responding generates doubt. And doubt is the engine of obsession. Every woman who speaks to a calm man, who doesn't get agitated, who listens and then smiles, feels something stirring inside, a mixture of respect and curiosity. Because silence lays bare what words hide. Silence is a mirror. It brings out the insecurity of others. Those who seek validation don't find it, and in that lack, they begin to desire you. This is how the psychology of detachment works. You don't have to say, I miss you. Just don't be there. You don't have to say, I love you. Just make your calmness felt when everyone expects a reaction. Self-control is irresistible because it communicates independence. And independence, for those who live in need, is pure magic. When a woman sees you in control of your emotions, when you don't seek, don't insist, don't react, don't try to solve everything right away, she doesn't think you don't care. She thinks you're different. And the difference in a world of emotionally chaotic men is gold. Every calm gesture is a jolt to his subconscious. Every pause before responding is a lesson. Every silence you give after a provocation is an act of invisible strength. Calm is not indifference. It is disciplined power. He who masters his impulses dominates the world. Look at how the people around you react when you remain silent. They become agitated. They fill the air with words. They try to decipher your gaze. Subconsciously, they are seeking your balance, because silence exposes those who lack it. A man who speaks little but observes a lot creates a presence that needs no noise. When you enter a room and remain calm, those who talk too much feel small. Those who play with words feel exposed, because silence is a lens. It magnifies all that is true and dissolves all that is false. A silent man is not an empty man. He is a man full of withheld content, and withholding, in the psychology of attraction, is power. Every woman is attracted to those who know how to contain, because the man who contains himself is also capable of containing the emotions of the other. He is stable, he is present, he is solid, and solidity is what the female unconscious seeks, even when the rational mind denies it. Silence becomes attraction when it is not empty, but full of direct energy. Every glance, every pause, every unspoken answer creates tension. And tension is the primitive language of desire. You don't need to speak to fascinate. You just need to know when to be silent. Because in silence, the space is created where the other projects what they desire to see. You become a screen, an enigma, a blank canvas on which the other's mind paints its fantasies. And the more silent you are, the more the other loses himself in his own imagination. He constructs you. He idealizes you. He desires you. This is the secret of self-control. He doesn't show you, he suggests. He doesn't impose on you, he lets you guess. A man who knows how to remain silent after an attack, after a rejection, after a test, is not a passive man. He is a man who has learned to win without moving, because silence is not an escape. It is a positioning. It's like saying, I won't get into the mud with you. I'll stay where my peace is sacred. And that sentence, even if unspoken, resounds like thunder. Silence is the language of men who have already won within. They don't need to show off. They don't need to defend themselves. They don't need to convince. They are living proof that strength makes no noise. When you learn to use silence, you no longer need strategies, because silence is pure strategy. It is a presence that cannot be explained. It is power that cannot be flaunted. And when your calm becomes constant, the people who thrive on chaos distance themselves, not because you push them away, but because your energy no longer fuels them. Only those who know how to be quiet with you remain. Those who aren't afraid of your silence, but respect it. Those who don't try to read you, but listen to you even when you're not speaking. And that's when you understand the truth. You don't have to be understood by everyone. You have to be at peace with yourself. The rest, respect, interest, love, follows naturally. Because self-control doesn't just fascinate. It elevates. It transforms every interaction into a magnetic field where you set the pace, where you choose the direction, where you are the still point amidst the chaos. And whoever touches that calm, even for a moment, never forgets it. Disappearing isn't disappearing. It's making room for silence to work in your place. Prolonged absence isn't a void. It's an invisible pressure, a force that grows over time, that transforms memory into desire and desire into respect. Every person you've met leaves a trace, but only those who disappear in the right way leave a mark. Because the mind forgets noise, but it doesn't forget silence. Noise saturates, silence remains. When you learn to disappear calmly, without rancor, without justifying yourself, you leave a trail that time cannot erase. Prolonged absence works like an echo. The more time passes, the more its voice resonates in the mind of the other, because the brain cannot tolerate unfinished business. And you, the moment you choose to withdraw without explaining, become an unanswered question. And unanswered questions are never forgotten. Disappearing is a declaration of independence. It means saying, I don't need to be seen to know that I exist. It means asserting your dignity, not with words, but with distance. When you distance yourself in the right way, you are not seeking revenge. You are creating strategic silence, and that silence works for you. At first, the other person perceives it as lightheartedness. He didn't say anything, so he doesn't care. But then the days pass, and your silence doesn't change. No message arrives. No signal arrives. No rebuke arrives. Only calm. And there, the invisible work begins. The other person's brain enters a cycle of curiosity and guilt. How can he not look for me? Did he really give up so easily? What if he no longer cared? What if I'd lost someone who was truly valuable? Every thought becomes a string pulling toward you, not because you're tightening it, but because you've stopped pulling. The power of prolonged absence lies in suspension, in letting the other experience the void of your energy, because no one can understand your value while receiving it in excess. Silence is needed, distance is needed, absence is needed. Only in emptiness does the mind understand the shape of things. Only when you disappear do others see who you really were. This is how the law of subtle attraction works. The more you distance yourself without resentment, the more your image purifies in the other person's memory. It removes the noise, leaves the essence. The mind begins to remember you not as you really were, but as it would have liked you to be. It idealizes you. It magnifies you. It romanticizes you. And as she reconstructs you in her thoughts, you become a legend. Time amplifies the mystery. Every day of silence becomes another chapter in your personal legend. Every week that passes without you reacting is a test of your strength. Every month of calm is a reminder that says, I don't need to come back to stay in your mind. The paradox is this: the longer you disappear, the stronger your presence becomes. Because absence is never neutral. It has a weight, a temperature, a vibration. It's like the scent that lingers after someone's gone. You don't see it, but it surrounds you. When you learn to master the power of absence, you no longer have to chase anything. You become the one who is remembered, not the one who remembers. Those who lost you begin to understand how rare you were, how precious your calm was, how real your presence was. And the more time passes, the more remorse grows. Because the mind, faced with a prolonged silence, finds no defense. It can justify your anger. It can ignore your words, but it cannot erase your absence. Absence is permanent, it is real, it is indisputable. And the moment the other realizes you are no longer coming back, something even more powerful happens. They begin to want to return, but not out of love, out of balance, because your silence has broken the symmetry, and the human mind always tries to restore it. You have become the missing needle on the scale, and until it finds you again, it will not calm down. This is the secret that masters of detachment know. Prolonged absence is not escape, it is influence. It is your energy that continues to operate, even when you are no longer there. You don't have to be present to have power. You need to make an impression. And you make an impression not when you talk a lot, but when you speak only once and then let time do the rest. Every time you disappear, you leave a void that only you can fill. And that void becomes your signature, your silent mark, your luminous shadow. You don't have to return to be remembered. You just have to stay true to your silence. Prolonged absence is a test. It verifies who seeks you out and who forgets you, who truly loved you and who used you, who felt affection and who only habit, who can't stand your absence, didn't deserve your presence, who remains in silence without anxiety is connected to your frequency. And you, meanwhile, don't stand still. You grow, you strengthen, you evolve. Every day without reaction is a day of training. Every day of silence is a day of accumulated power. Because while others search, you build. While others regret, you progress. While others live in memory, you live in presence. And when, one day, your paths cross again with someone who lost you, there will be no need to say anything. Time will speak for you. Your calm will speak for you. Your past absence will transform into their present awareness. They will understand that your strength wasn't indifference, it was evolution. And that day, there will be no need for revenge, because life will have already provided it for you. The true victory of detachment isn't seeing who comes back. It's no longer needing anyone to come back. Detachment doesn't just change what you do, it changes what you radiate. When you stop chasing, explaining, convincing, your energy changes direction. It no longer flows outward. It goes back inward. And when your energy returns inward, it becomes power. It's as if your aura compacts. Everything you previously dispersed in attempts, in words, in useless gestures, now gathers within you, and the world feels it. People don't rationally understand what it is, but they sense it, because energy never lies. It's like an invisible perfume. You can't see it, but it gets there before you do. When you enter a room after learning detachment, you're no longer the man who seeks acceptance. You're the man who chooses. You don't observe for approval, you observe to understand if what surrounds you is worthy of your calm. And this changes everything. Detachment is the end of energetic anxiety. It's the point where you stop giving power to the reactions of others and begin to own your own vibration. Those who live in need have energy outward. You feel it. It's nervous, impatient, tense. It wants attention, recognition, a response. It's the energy of those who don't yet belong to themselves. Those who live in detachment have energy inward. It's warm, deep, stable. It doesn't ask. It doesn't push. It doesn't beg. It waits. It observes. It decides. It's a subtle but devastating difference. One is the beggar of life. The other is its architect. When you stop seeking, you become rare. And what is rare is always sought. It's a universal principle. Abundance attracts, need repels. When your energy says, "I am complete," people want to be part of that completeness. Because everyone, deep down, is looking for someone who doesn't make them feel empty. And a man who has learned detachment doesn't fill, he transmits fullness. It's not a question of status, appearance, or success. It's a frequency. It's the way you are. It's the calm with which you move, the slowness with which you respond, the confidence with which you don't explain yourself. The more you stop looking for something outside yourself, the more you become a source. And those who are sources don't beg for water from others. Detachment transforms the way you walk. You no longer drag yourself toward others. You walk your own path. Those who want it, join you. Those who don't, get lost. Transform the way you look. You don't seek validation in the eyes of others. You observe with curiosity, not hunger. And when you look like this, you transmit power. Transform the way you speak. You don't justify, you don't persuade, you don't try to impress. Every word comes from a place of stillness, and those who listen to you feel it. Detachment makes you magnetic because calm is contagious. Those who meet you feel more stable, more serene, more centered, and without realizing it, they want to be by your side. Not because you do something, but because you are something. When you don't seek anything, you become the prize. When you don't seek attention, you become interesting. When you don't seek love, you become desirable. When you don't seek respect, you become respected. This is the paradox of detachment. Everything you stop chasing starts chasing you. Because the universe recognizes those who don't live in fear, those who don't cling, those who don't beg, those who don't bend to be accepted. The universe loves those who stand upright, even alone. And people sense that same vibration. Those who are empty envy it. Those who are anxious fear it. Those who are profound recognize it and seek it. That's why, when you learn detachment, you begin to lose many people. But the few that remain are worth as much as 100 before. Because detachment attracts not quantity, but quality. And quality, in everything, is silent. Detachment removes the need to be noticed, but makes you impossible to ignore. Have you ever noticed how, when you stop searching for a message, your phone vibrates? When you stop thinking about someone, you meet them. When you finally let go, things fall into place. It's not magic, it's aligned energy. You stopped holding back, and the universe has begun to give back. Every time you search, you emit a signal of lack. Every time you let go, you emit a signal of strength. And the world responds. Detachment doesn't take away your emotions. It gives you back the power to choose them. You can feel without losing control. You can love without being consumed. You can desire without begging. It's this emotional freedom that changes your energy. You are no longer reactive, you're creative. You no longer live for others, but make them orbit around you. Those who look at you now can't explain why you're different, but he feels it. He senses it in your calm, in your way of not seeking, in your way of not forcing anything. He looks at you and thinks, "What's so special about that?" The answer is simple. You've stopped needing. A man who doesn't need is a free man, and freedom, in the mind of someone who is a prisoner of their emotions, is the height of seduction. When you seek nothing, you exude pure power, because only those who aren't afraid of being left behind can have everything. It's the same energy possessed by great philosophers, silent leaders, men who didn't seek consensus, but walked in the certainty of their own value. Detachment transforms you like this, from a beggar of emotions to the master of your inner world. And in a world that thrives on lack, being complete is the greatest form of attraction. not because you conquer, but because you don't need it. Every time you justify yourself, you lose power. Every time you explain too much, you belittle yourself. Every time you try to make yourself understood at all costs, you're unconsciously saying, "I don't believe in myself enough to remain silent." The truth is this: the world doesn't respect those who ask to be understood. It respects those who don't need it. When you stop explaining yourself, something changes in the way they perceive you. The people who only wanted to argue disappear. Those who truly understand you remain, and the rest of the noise fades away. Silence becomes your filter, an invisible barrier that separates those who want to understand from those who only want to react. Men who talk too much lose their charm, because the more you explain, the more you seem to seek approval. And approval is the opposite of power. Those who know who they are don't explain. Those who have value don't defend it. Those who are at peace don't argue. Detachment at this level becomes language. A language that communicates security without the need for words. A language that says, "I'm not here to convince you, I'm here to be." When you stop explaining yourself, the world begins to interpret you. And in interpretation, mystery is born. And in mystery, attraction is born. Because human beings are curious by nature, and what they can't define, they admire or fear. You don't need to be understood. You need to be heard. When you speak little but with intention, your words carry weight. When you remain silent at the right time, your absence is felt more than 1,000 speeches. Every word you say adds a gram to your respect. A man who no longer justifies himself is not arrogant. He is free. Free from the need for consensus. Free from the ego that wants approval. Free from the fear of being misunderstood. Those who have worked on themselves understand one simple thing. Those who misunderstand you don't want to understand you. And those who want to understand you don't need you to explain. Explanations don't convince those who have already made up their minds. And silence is useless for those who truly hear you. Calm after detachment isn't just quiet. It's mastery. It's knowing how to say with a look what others say with 10 sentences. It's knowing how to respond with silence to what deserves indifference. Those who talk too much reveal. He who speaks the right amount leads. He who doesn't speak at all commands. You don't have to respond to every message. You don't have to defend yourself from every accusation. You don't have to correct every lie. Time is your advocate, and silence is your proof. When you stop explaining yourself, you begin to be perceived as a man of substance, because substance isn't proclaimed, it's demonstrated. Every man who has understood this automatically becomes more attractive, because in a world of chatter, calm is rare. Your silence becomes a riddle others want to solve. They ask, what is he thinking? Why isn't he answering? Is he angry or simply doesn't care? And in that confusion, in that attempt to understand, they are already thinking of you. Silence creates space, and in that space, curiosity is born. And curiosity is the root of respect and interest. Stopping explaining doesn't mean closing yourself off. It means letting others reveal you over time. Because what is revealed slowly is loved more deeply. Every wise man knows that mystery is a weapon, but mystery isn't built with lies or games. It comes from control. From not saying everything, from not reacting immediately, from letting silence do its part. Silence isn't the absence of a response. It's a superior response. It's saying, "You're not worth my time." It's saying, "I've already said enough with my behavior." A man who no longer explains himself fears nothing, because he has nothing left to lose. His value isn't up for discussion. It's in itself. This is how you gain authority without raising your voice. This is how you command without ever imposing. This is how you are remembered without ever asking. When you learn not to explain yourself, you begin to speak a language that only those who have reached your peace can understand. It's the language of silent presence, of inner certainty, of the man who no longer needs to win conversations because he has already conquered himself. The world listens to those who don't shout, because shouting is need, silence is security. Look at true leaders. They aren't those who explain, they are those who embody. Their every gesture is a message. Their every pause is a command. Don't say, "Understand me." Show. Don't say, "Believe me." Demonstrate. Don't say, "I'm right." Act so that the truth reveals itself. Detachment turns your words into gold because you use them only when necessary. And when you speak, every sentence sounds final. There is no greater power than saying little and letting silence complete the sentence. Those who always try to explain themselves are at war with the world. Those who don't feel the need are already at peace. And peace, in the universal language of the soul, is always authority. Those who talk too much want to be accepted. Those who speak little want to be respected. Those who don't speak at all have already been recognized. Stopping explaining yourself isn't a technique, it's a state of being. It's the point at which you understand that your energy is too precious to be wasted on useless words. It's the moment you begin to truly live as a free man, because you no longer need others to understand you. All you need is to know that you are true. And when you live like this, the world finally begins to listen to you. Not because you speak more, but because in your silence, there is more truth than 1,000 speeches could contain. The return, sooner or later, always comes. Not because the other has changed, but because your absence has educated them. Because silence is a harsh school, and you were the master. When you stopped explaining yourself, when you chose calm over reaction, you showed a strength that few possess. And that strength, over time, becomes attraction, because respect is born after loss. And those who have lost you, in the end, understand this, but the return is never pure. It often comes disguised as nostalgia, curiosity, words spoken by chance. Sometimes it's an innocent message. "Hi, how are you?" Sometimes it's a pretext. "I thought of you today." But you know what's behind it. A mind that finds no peace in your silence. When the return happens, you have before you a sacred choice. It's not a test of love, it's a test of power. This is the moment when your coherence is tested, because detachment is not complete until you learn to remain calm even in the face of what once made you tremble. Here's the truth. Most people don't come back for love. They come back to regain control, to see if your silence was real or just a strategy, if you've truly learned to live without it, or if you're just acting. The return is their way of knocking on the door to see if the house is still open. And here's where your new strength comes in. Dignity. Dignity is the calm that remains when the ego wants to react. It's the voice that tells you, "I don't need those who left to understand my value." When someone comes back after ignoring you, after underestimating you, after losing you, they shouldn't find you in the same place. They shouldn't find you with the same energy. They shouldn't find you the same. They should find a new person. Calmer, more steadfast, more distant, but not cold, just centered. Because true detachment isn't closing the door. It's not having to close it anymore. When you're truly at peace, there's no need for dramatic gestures. Your calm is enough to make it clear that the old you no longer exists. If you respond, do so with sobriety. A clear, clean, simple word. Without emotion, without waiting, without weight. Because neutrality is the language of the strong. Those who return expect a reaction. They want a sign of weakness. They want to feel that you still care, that you still matter. But when they find calm, when they find serenity, when they find polite indifference, they understand that power has changed hands. It's in that moment that your energy becomes a lesson. You're no longer the student who demanded attention. You're the teacher who teaches the value of loss. There's no point in angrily refusing. Just remain at peace. The silence that drove them back is the same one that will make them understand that they no longer have access. Every time you react, you give power back. Every time you explain, you reopen the door. Every time you try to make them understand, you're still seeking approval. But when you respond calmly, without rancor, without need, you are saying with every fiber of your being, "I'm done with what cost me peace." And that unspoken sentence is worth more than 1,000 explanations. Sometimes returning happens to test you. Sometimes Out of nostalgia? Sometimes just because your energy has become too quiet to ignore. But you must not fall into the illusion of maybe it has changed. People rarely change. They only change their behavior when faced with new energy. And your energy now is different. You must not fear returning. You must honor it, because every time someone returns, it is proof that your detachment has worked. It is not a trophy. It is a reminder. It reminds you of how far you have come. It reminds you how much you have grown. It reminds you that you are no longer the same man who needed to be chosen. When someone returns and finds you calm, without anger, without tension, without the desire to talk about how things went, they understand that the game is over. Not because you won, but because you stopped playing. And nothing disarms more than a man who has stopped playing. You can also choose to start a new conversation, but do it from a higher plane, not from that of the ego. Not for revenge, not to reopen the past, but to see if the new version of you can maintain calm even where it once burned. This is the highest level of detachment, remaining compassionate without being available, being kind without being involved, being present without being accessible. Those who return must not find you angry, but serene, because anger is a bond. Resentment is an invisible thread. Peace, on the other hand, is the end of every rope. When you are at peace, the past no longer pulls you, and returning no longer moves you. At that point, you can look anyone in the eye and say, even without words, I loved you, I let you go, and now I am free. And those who have lost you will feel the weight of that freedom. Because freedom is contagious, but also painful to witness when you don't have it. Many will return just to touch it, to feel it, to try to steal it from you. But you will never lose it again. Because by now you have learned that inner freedom is the only thing that cannot be negotiated. When the return happens, smile. Not with irony, but with gratitude. Because every person who returns is proof that your silence has left its mark. Detachment doesn't erase love, it purifies it. It doesn't erase memory, it makes it lucid. It doesn't close the door to the past, it keeps it ajar, but only to let air pass, not shadows. If one day you decide to let someone in again, you will do so as a new man, not out of need, but by choice. Not out of fear of loneliness, but out of an abundance of peace. And if you choose not to open, it will still be love, but towards yourself. Because loving yourself doesn't mean excluding others. It means choosing yourself first. Those who return will understand this. Those who don't will still return, but only to learn once again that your calm is a door that opens only to those who arrive in silence. There are two types of power in the world, that which makes noise and that which keeps silence. The first belongs to those who dominate others. The second, the rarer, to those who dominate themselves. Detachment is this second form of power. It isn't cold, it isn't passive, it isn't renunciation. It is spiritual authority. It is the ability to remain still while everything around you rages. It is the invisible dominion that comes from not letting yourself be dragged along. Detachment isn't escape, it's a throne, and those who learn to sit on that throne become untouchable. When your peace no longer depends on who loves or ignores you, who stays or who leaves, who approves or who judges, you become a king in a world of pawns, because true strength isn't shown, it's felt. And when one man radiates calm in the midst of a storm, others adjust to him. It's a silent but real phenomenon. People synchronize with your energy. If you're agitated, they pass you by. If you're still, they follow you. Detachment is a form of spiritual mastery because it seeks to win not on the outside, but on the inside. It's the invisible victory over impulse, over fear, over ego. Those who have learned detachment are no longer reactive. They are creative. They don't respond to the world, they shape it. Every time you choose not to react, you are choosing the greatest power there is, that of not being ruled by chaos. Peace is the soul's most advanced battlefield. It's not a passive state, it's a constant effort, Remaining calm when everything screams is a form of sacred warfare, and detachment is your weapon. Not a sword that wounds, but a shield that repels. It doesn't destroy, but transforms. When you are detached, you no longer fight the world. You disarm it. Conflict dissolves on its own, because it no longer encounters opposition. It's the same logic as fire. If you remove oxygen, it goes out. And you, with your calm, remove oxygen from everything that wanted to ignite you. Detachment is spiritual because it comes from recognizing that everything is temporary, that everything that comes, sooner or later, goes away, that every emotion, every person, every situation is merely a passing moment. And when you live with this awareness, you no longer cling to anything, because you know that nothing belongs to you, not even what you love. This is the highest freedom, not that of the body, but that of the mind. Detachment doesn't make you less human. It makes you more divine. It elevates you above the small daily battles. It takes you to a level where nothing can touch you except what you choose to welcome. When you learn detachment, you discover a paradox. The more at peace you are, the more the world bows. Not because you command it, but because you are no longer a slave to it. Inner peace intimidates those who live in disorder. Those who lack self-control feel small in the face of those who do. Those who live with uncontrolled emotions are confused by those who remain calm even in pain. Detachment, in this sense, is subtle control. There's no point in saying, "I'm strong." It's enough to remain still while everything trembles. Every provocation loses power in the face of someone who doesn't react. Every manipulation fails in the face of someone who doesn't yield. Every attempt at control fizzles out in the face of someone who is already free. This is why detachment isn't just philosophy. It's spiritual strategy. It's the art of transforming weakness into wisdom, suffering into centeredness, loss into freedom. There is no weapon more powerful than a man who cannot be manipulated. And there is no way to manipulate someone who is no longer afraid of losing. When you are no longer afraid of losing, you have already won. Because you cannot steal anything from someone who has already chosen themselves. You cannot hurt someone who doesn't take anything personally. You cannot destabilize someone who has found their balance. Detachment makes you like the sea. You may rage on the surface, but deep down, you are calm. No storm reaches the bottom. And those who learn to live at the bottom no longer fear the waves. Detachment is not resignation. It is refined power. It is the awareness that you don't need to react to everything to be alive. It is knowing that every time you choose calm, you choose yourself. It is a form of meditation in motion, a philosophy practiced, not preached. It is the very essence of Stoicism. You don't control the world, you control your response to it. And when you control the response, you control everything. The ancients called this state ataraxia, absence of disturbance. Not because they didn't feel pain, but because they learned not to identify with it, to let the pain pass like wind through their fingers without holding on to it. This is peace as a form of mastery, not mastery over others, but over yourself. Those who master themselves no longer have rivals, because no one can make you lose what they cannot give you. No one can control what you no longer desire. No one can hurt you if you have accepted all that you are. Spiritual detachment is not solitude. It is self-sufficiency of the soul. It is walking through a crowd and remaining whole. It is loving without clinging. It is living without fear of loss. And when you live like this, you become a beacon. People sense it. They can't explain what's inside you, but they sense your solidity. Because true peace cannot be explained. It radiates. And in a world that thrives on noise, reactions, uncontrolled emotions, your calm becomes revolutionary. Your every breath becomes authority. Your every pause becomes power. Your every calmly spoken no is worth more than 100 shouts. This is the mastery of detachment, conquering not with force, but with firmness. Not by arguing, but by disarming with calm. Detachment is the silentest weapon, but also the most definitive, because it doesn't hurt the body, it educates the soul. And those who have learned the lesson of your peace will never forget it. In an age where everyone reacts, the man who doesn't react becomes an enigma. And in the age of noise, enigmas are worth more than gold. Today, most men live by reaction. They react to messages, comments, glances, provocations, emotions. It's as if their identity were a pendulum that swings depending on how others behave. But a man who has understood detachment doesn't swing. He remains. He is the steadfast column in the temple that the world tries to demolish every day. Non-reaction is a form of power because it diffuses. It's like taking the fuel away from a fire. The flame of the other goes out by itself. When a man doesn't react, the world no longer knows how to handle him. People accustomed to winning with emotion, manipulation, provocation, lose all grip because their power is based on your response, and you simply don't give it to them anymore. That's how you become dangerous. Not because you attack, but because you don't let yourself be touched. The man who doesn't react is not disinterested. He is disciplined. He feels everything, but doesn't move. He observes, evaluates, decides. He is an emotional sniper. He never shoots first, but when he does, every word is aimed. In an impulsive world, calm is a revolution, and in an age of excess, moderation is charisma. Non-reaction is not weakness. It is the most refined form of strength. It requires self-control, presence, and mastery of one's instincts, because those who don't control their emotions are puppets in the hands of those who know how to manipulate them. The man who doesn't react is not cold, he is aware. He knows that every reaction is a concession of power. Every time you snap, you are saying, "You have access to my state of mind." And a wise man protects his state of mind like a kingdom. When you don't react, you're communicating without speaking. You don't decide my worth. You don't define my pace. I stay where I am. And this calm, this self-control, is magnetic. Women feel it. Men respect it. And those who wanted to provoke you begin to feel small, because non-reaction strips others of their power. Those who thrive on chaos can't stand those who thrive on quiet. Those who seek control feel lost in the face of those who control nothing but command everything. The man who doesn't react is feared because he's unpredictable. He doesn't follow common patterns. He can't be read. He can't be moved. He's like a clean mirror. It reflects but doesn't hold back. And those who look into it end up confronting themselves. The modern world teaches you that being real means showing every emotion. It tells you that holding back is repression, that vulnerability is exposing every wound. But the truth is that authentic vulnerability isn't an outlet. It's awareness. Showing everything isn't strength. Knowing how to choose what to show is. The man who doesn't react has learned the difference. He doesn't repress, but channels. He doesn't suffocate, but directs. He doesn't ignore emotions, he dominates them. Because true dominion is never over others. It's over oneself. When the world provokes you and you remain calm, you've already won. Not because you've proven something, but because you haven't lost yourself. This is the new form of male power. It's not measured in physical strength, status, or money. It's measured in the ability to stay centered while everything around you collapses. The world respects those who remain calm, because calm is a rare currency. Those who possess it set the pace and tone. Look at the men who truly lead. They don't speak quickly. They don't react to insults. They don't explain. They look, they listen, and when they speak, every word is final. This is how you dominate in the 21st century. Not with aggression, but with calm. Not with noise, but with direction. Every reaction you avoid is an act of power. Every provocation you let go is an invisible victory. Every time you choose calm over conflict, you are building an empire within yourself. And that empire, no one can touch. Because it isn't found outside. It's in your breathing, in your silence, in your steady gaze. Those who look at you understand that you are no longer accessible, that they can't push you wherever they want, that you no longer play their games. And this, in a world where everyone wants to dominate, is the true form of domination. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. Just don't react. You don't have to impose yourself to be respected. Just stand still. You don't have to control others. Just control yourself. Non-reaction is the threshold between the common man and the superior man. The former lives in chaos. The latter lives in control. The former depends on the world. The latter observes it from above. And it's not a matter of arrogance, but of mastery. Those who react serve their emotions. Those who don't react command them, and those who command their emotions command their own destiny. Because every bad choice you've ever made was born from an impulsive reaction. Every word you regretted came out in a moment when you weren't present. Every decision that hurt you was born when you lacked peace. When you are at peace, you know how to choose. And when you know how to choose, you know how to live. This is the secret the Stoics already knew 2,000 years ago. Freedom is not doing what you want. It is not being a slave to your emotions. Calm is not a lack of fire. It is fire under control. It is strength that doesn't need to prove itself. And in the modern world, where everyone shows everything, the man who doesn't react becomes legendary. Not because he wins arguments, but because he conquers himself. There comes a moment in a man's life when he understands that calm is no longer a goal. It is his legacy. It is no longer something he seeks. It is something he leaves behind. Every step, every look, every word spoken or left unsaid becomes a testimony to what he has learned. That nothing is worth his peace. That no one deserves his loss of self. That no battle justifies the destruction of one's inner balance. Calm is not weakness. It is spiritual memory. It's the result of all the internal wars you fought, and which you stopped fighting only when you understood that winning didn't mean being right, but staying at peace. This is the final point of detachment, when you no longer need to react to make yourself understood, to prove yourself. When you no longer want to change others, but simply not let them change you. Detachment is not a wall, it's a threshold. On one side is the world of unstable emotions, of racing thoughts, of consuming desires. On the other, there's the silence of man who has found his center. And that silence becomes home. Calm, when you reach it, is no longer a technique, it's a presence. It's in the way you walk, in the way you listen, in the way you say no respectfully, in the way you don't seek explanations where there's only confusion. Those who meet you feel it. They can't explain why, but they sense that there's something different in you. An energy that doesn't compete, doesn't chase, doesn't fear. It is the calm of someone who has been through hell and emerged whole. Not immaculate, but whole. A calm man is not a man who no longer has fire. He is a man who has learned to guard it, who doesn't waste it to demonstrate, but uses it to create. Calm, in its purest state, is strength that has stopped screaming. It is power that no longer needs noise. Once you arrive here, you no longer live by reacting. You live by choosing. And every choice you make is slow, thoughtful, necessary. You no longer need to please anyone. You no longer fear losing anyone. You only desire to stay aligned with yourself. And in this state, you become a light for those still groping in the dark. You don't try to save them. You don't try to change them. You simply illuminate them with your stability, because calm is contagious, not in the blatant way of strong emotions, but in the profound way of silent truths. A room calms when a calm man enters. An argument calms when one of the two stops reacting. A toxic bond ends when one party chooses silence instead of conflict. This is the invisible power of calm. It rewrites the environment. It changes the tone of the air. It shifts energies without moving anything. It is the most subtle form of influence there is, and you become its bearer. The modern world doesn't understand this power because it is accustomed to noise. It believes that he who shouts wins, that he who reacts is alive, that he who responds first is strong. But the truth is the opposite. He who shouts is empty. He who reacts is weak. He who responds immediately has already lost control. Calm is the point where you no longer have anything to prove, where your presence is enough, where you don't need to make others understand, because those who are ready understand on their own. Calm is the greatest gift you can leave, because all other things, status, money, appearances, are temporary. But the calm you inspire in others remains even after you are gone. A calm man is a man who has stopped searching the world because he has found himself. When you reach this peace, you begin to see people differently, no longer as enemies, no longer as tests, but as souls in varying states of confusion. And instead of reacting, you begin to understand. Not justify, understand, which is very different. Understanding is an act of strength, not weakness. It's saying, I understand where you're coming from, but I won't let you drag me down with you. This is the calm that becomes a legacy. Not the peace that endures, but the peace that chooses. It's the peace of someone who looked the storm in the face and said, go ahead, I'm staying here. It's the peace of someone who doesn't need to be right, because they know that truth needs no defenders. It's the peace of someone who has turned their silence into a prayer. Every breath is a meditation. Every no is an act of self-love. And in this peace, you are no longer just a man. You become a symbol. Your energy remains even when you're not there. Those who knew you will remember how they felt around you. Calm. And that feeling becomes your legacy. Calm is your legacy because it outlives you. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need memory. It lives in the way you touched others without ever trying to change them. When you leave a place and the atmosphere relaxes, you have left conflict. When you leave a place and the atmosphere remains calm, you have left presence. This is the difference between those who pass through the world like the wind and those who pass through it like the root. The wind disturbs, the root stabilizes. The wind makes noise, the root creates life in silence. Become the root. Plant yourself in calm and let all that is temporary pass over you. Calm is your legacy because it is the one thing that cannot be taken from you. You can carry it everywhere, in times of pain, in losses, in disappointments. It is your armor and your gift. It protects you, but it also illuminates. In the end, no one will remember your victories or your wrongs. They will remember how you made them feel. And a calm man always leaves peace behind. Not a superficial peace, but a peace that teaches. Which shows that true greatness lies not in domination over others, but in self-domination. This is the pinnacle of Stoicism. The point where philosophy becomes flesh, breath, presence. The point where you no longer teach calm. You embody it. And from there on, there's nothing more to say. Just live in silence, like a man who has learned to win without fighting.